Okay, in this video we're going to continue our conversation about the order of operations, and mainly I'm going to just be focusing in on addition and subtraction and intricacies in how those two interact. So I'm going to start with just a simple example with a bunch of addition. So compute 6 plus 41 plus 9 plus 4. Okay, so I haven't yet told you what's supposed to happen when we have lots of things being added, but the rule is that when we see a lot of things being added, we're supposed to theoretically add them from left to right. Theoretically. So let's try it, and then maybe we'll talk about what's a better way to do this. So if I'm going to add these from left to right, I see 6 plus 41. So 6 plus 41, I think, is 47. And I haven't dealt with the 9 and the 4 yet. So I'll just copy them down again. And then 47 plus 9. 47 plus 9 would be 56, I believe. Plus 4, because we haven't added the 4 yet. And then 56 plus 4 would be 60. Okay. That is a way to do it, and theoretically that's the way that we're supposed to do it. I don't think we should be doing it that way. So keeping in mind that our final answer was 60, I'm going to erase this for a second, so you might want to pause if you need to take notes. And I'm going to show you a better idea here. So some of the rules for addition say that if you're adding two numbers, you can add them in any order you want. 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. And so if I see 6 plus 41, that should be the same thing as 41 plus 6. I can flip the order of two numbers if they're both being added. Another thing we're allowed to do, although we're theoretically supposed to work from left to right, there's a rule of addition. It also works for multiplication, called the Associative Property, that says you can put parentheses wherever you want. So 6 plus 41 plus 9 should be the same thing as 6 plus 41 plus 9. So these two rules I'm talking about, that you can switch the order of two numbers, and you can switch in what order you do multiple operations, mean that if everything is being added, you can do those additions however you want. You can shuffle the order completely. You can change if you're going to work from left to right, or just pair things up. And so maybe we should try that. Because looking at the original expression that I have on the board, 6 plus 41 plus 9 plus 4, there are certain numbers that are much easier to add to each other than others. Mainly 4 and 6 adds up to something nice and simple, 10. And 41 and 9 adds up to something also nice and simple. 41 plus 9 would be an even 50. So why don't I shuffle the order so that I do those additions first? I'm going to try and add the 6 and the 4, and then I'm going to add the 41 and the 9. Hopefully I should end up with the same total. We said that was 10 and 50, and when you add 10 and 50, you get 60, which is way simpler than the way we originally did. I didn't have to do nearly as much math in my head. It's all written on the board. It's all simple. Also, feel free to skip steps occasionally. Just make sure you're writing down enough work for me to see what you're doing. Okay, so that's the idea. We have these two rules that say when you're adding up a whole bunch of numbers, you can shuffle the order however you feel like. Okay, let me try one more example. So again, I'm going to erase, so pause and copy this down if you need to. The next example I'm going to look at is 9 minus 50 plus 91. Okay, so what we just said was that when we have a bunch of numbers being added, we can shuffle the order however we want. Subtraction throws a little bit of a monkey wrench in the works, but not too much. We can deal with it. And the reason that we can deal with it is that subtraction is really adding a negative number. It's taking away, which we denote as a negative number. So when I look at this expression, I see 9, I subtract 50, and then I add 91. You can think about this in terms of like dollars. You started with $9 in your bank account. You wrote a check for $50. Shouldn't have done that. That was bad. Don't do that. But then before the check had a chance to bounce, you ran to the bank real quick and you added $91 to your account. So positive number means money that you have. Negative number means number that you're taking away. And so subtraction, negative numbers mean the same thing. So it's negative 50. I can word as subtracting 50 is the same as adding a negative 50. And now the reason that this is important is, hey, wait a second. That's a bunch of numbers being added. A 9, a negative 50, and a 91. We just got done saying if we add a bunch of numbers, we can shuffle the order however we want. So why don't we shuffle the order? In particular, I like adding positive numbers to each other. I don't like doing add and subtract, add and subtract. So what I should probably do is shuffle the order, put the two positives together, and then worry about the negative later, or put the negative at the end. So I'm going to shuffle the order and do my 9 plus 91, and then worry about the 50. Okay, so shuffling the order, 9 plus 91 plus negative 50. 9 plus 91 would be an even 100. And then we're adding negative 50. I think I'm going to go back to rewriting add negative 50 as just subtract 50. And then that's something we can do in our head. 100 minus 50 would be 50. Okay. Alternative ways that we could have done the problem. We could have gone from left to right. 9 minus 50 is negative 43. You started with $9. You wrote a check for 50. You're $41 in debt. And then you add 91. You pay 91. And we now are back to having a positive amount in our bank account, which is actually $50. Bad thing, deceptive part of order of operations. Addition is written above subtraction in my order of operations. And so sometimes people are tempted to say, oh, we're supposed to do 50 plus 91. If we're thinking about this in terms of a bank account, this is a terrible idea. I don't want to have the 50, which was the debt, and the 91, which is me actually paying money to the bank, to be considered the same thing. 50 plus 91 would be 141. I don't want to say that I wrote a check for 141. I didn't. I wrote a check for 50. 50 is the only one that's being taken away. That's the only one that's negative. So the deceptive part of order of operations is that we don't do additions, then do subtractions. Those two happen together, because subtraction is just addition with a negative number involved. So really we should be thinking about those two going together. We have parentheses, we have exponents. It turns out multiplication and division are going to do the same thing again. So multiplication and division should go together. Then additions and subtraction should happen. So first parentheses, second exponents, third multiplications and divisions. If there's multiples of them, we're supposed to theoretically go left to right. And then fourth step, additions and subtractions. Theoretically, we're supposed to go left to right, although we are allowed to shuffle the order. In order to shuffle the order, though, just to make sure we don't confuse which things are positive, which things are negative, if we're changing the order, we should probably write our subtractions as plus and negative, so we can keep better eye on what things were supposed to be positive, what things were supposed to be negative.